This week, Obscure Characters Month continues with the basics on another bot given a new toy in this year's Transformers Legacy, Marvel's monstrous movie star, SKULLGRIN. The original SKULLGRIN toy was released in 1988. He was one of the first figures in the Pretender range, Transformers who hid their true robotic forms inside biomechanical outer shells. SKULLGRIN transformed into a Cybertronian tank, while his shell took the form of a skull-headed bull monster. A profile for SKULLGRIN was written by Marvel Comics writer Bob Budiansky, which characterized him as a pretender with a split personality. Outside of his shell, he was a vain, cold-hearted Decepticon, intrigued by life on Earth and prone to shirking his duties to explore it. But when he donned his pretender shell, his intelligence and reason disappeared, and he became an unstoppable monster whose only purpose was to destroy. Oddly, Budiansky chose not to include this dual personality when he featured SKULLGRIN in the Marvel comic book. The comic told the story of how SKULLGRIN became a pretender when Decepticon commander Scorponok used the resources of a human genetic research laboratory to create synthetic organic shells for his troops as a new form of disguise. SKULLGRIN later got the spotlight in issue number 45, titled MonsterCon from Mars. Sent to establish a fuel depot for the Decepticons in the forests of North Carolina, SKULLGRIN was spotted by locals, but thanks to his pretender shell, they didn't realize he was a Transformer and assumed instead he was Bigfoot. Movie director Rolly Friendly and his crew subsequently arrived hoping to capture some footage of the legendary monster, but upon discovering that SKULLGRIN was an intelligent being, Friendly decided to offer him a job as an actor in his latest movie. Reasoning that he could accomplish his mission by having the humans pay him in fuel, SKULLGRIN accepted. He quickly became a celebrity and, in classic Beauty and the Beast style, grew close with his co-star, Carissa Carr, eventually revealing to her that he was really a Transformer. But this reveal led to an attack by the robot-hating supervillain Circuit Breaker, which wrecked the movie and ended SKULLGRIN's cinematic career. Now, solo Decepticon spotlight issues were pretty rare in the comic, and that, combined with the quirky, offbeat nature of the story, made SKULLGRIN quite memorable. He would continue to appear in the comic on and off over the next few years, at one point even being mocked by his fellow Decepticons for his dalliance with the humans. And he proved enough of a standout to also show up in its various sequels and spin-offs, including Marvel's own Transformers Generation 2 in 1994, and Fun Publications' Transformers Timelines in 2012. In Japan, SKULLGRIN's toy was sold under the name Doros. But his name wasn't the only thing that was different about him, as both his personality and the pretender concept in general were heavily reimagined for the Japanese market. Doros appeared in the Japanese original series Super God Master Force. He was a strong, aggressive bot whose love of the smell of gunpowder had led him to become the Decepticons' explosives expert. Instead of wearing shells, in Japanese media, he and the other pretenders had the special ability to actually shrink and convert their metal bodies into organic forms. The pretenders had crash-landed on Earth during the Stone Age, and used their powers to adopt the forms of monsters with which to terrorize mankind, inspiring many of humanity's myths and legends. Doros in particular was the inspiration for the Greek myth of the half-man, half-bull, the Minotaur. They were eventually defeated by a team of Autobot pretenders and locked away. Doros was sealed underground beneath the Nazca lines in Peru. However, after millennia of imprisonment, the villains were freed in the year 2020 by the new Decepticon leader, the evil energy being Devil Zed, and served as his loyal followers for the duration of the series. Now, in the 21st century, SKULLGRIN's appearances in media have been pretty limited, with his only notable ones coming in the pages of IDW Publishing's comic books. He was introduced to IDW's universe in the 2006 miniseries Stormbringer, in which he was part of a Decepticon cult gathered by Bludgeon to resurrect the super-powerful mega-pretender Thunderwing. In later years, IDW would also depict Doros as a separate character to SKULLGRIN, living on post-war Cybertron. But while he hasn't featured in many new stories, SKULLGRIN's Marvel stardom has remained enough to earn him a surprising number of new toys. The first was in Transformers Generations in 2010, a retool and recolor of the Generations Darkmount figure, which transformed from a self-propelled artillery vehicle into a robot loosely styled after his Pretender shell. SKULLGRIN would appear in this form in a few mobile games later in the decade. Then, in 2018, the Pretender gimmick was reinvented for the Power of the Primes toy line. This series reimagined SKULLGRIN as a Prime Master, a tiny robot containing the power of Liege Maximo, one of the legendary original 13 Primes, which he could grant to other bots by transforming into Spark mode and plugging into larger figures. To shield his power from detection, the Prime Master hid himself within an armoured shell, which could also convert into a claw weapon that bigger bots could wield. The design of this toy served as inspiration for SKULLGRIN's appearance in IDW's 2021 miniseries Tread and Circuits, in which he was a member of the Cybertronian terrorist group Mayhem. And of course, in 2022, the most recent new SKULLGRIN toy was released in Transformers Legacy, which transformed from a robot that combined aspects of his original Pretender shell and inner robot designs into a double-barreled tank like the original figure. With this many toys, SKULLGRIN stands out as one of the most frequently recurring and best-known Pretender characters, the kind of cult favourite status that makes him a star here in Obscure Characters Month. And those are the basics on SKULLGRIN. If you've enjoyed this look at Transformers history and lore, subscribe and check out nearly 200 more videos like it. Plus, if you support the show on Patreon, you'll get early access to new episodes, like next week's final installment of Obscure Characters Month.